Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. All right. Well, once again, you look around, you see the sun just beaming brightly, got me squinting, right? It's a beautiful day, folks, right? Once again, a tremendously, splendidly glorious day for us all, right? All right, so thank you for chiming in. And this one we're going to call, pretty important topic, we're going to call this one Transitioning Out of the Matrix. All right, so that's the title, but you know what, that the last word on that, right, is one I struggle with even including. And I did make mention in the previous video some of my thoughts and feelings on, some of my perspectives on the use of that word and how this relates to our existence right now, right? But I do know that a lot of you view it that way, so it's not all about me, right? And I certainly want to be as inclusive as possible. So that's the title we're going with, and the process is the same. It's essentially getting yourself out of the multitude of linear, low vibratory systems that permeate our everyday lives, right? In every aspect of our lives. Sounds like a monumental task. But keep in mind that largely we're talking about work that you need to do within your own mind, right? Within your own heart. It is an internal process largely that is the result of deep introspection, right? Taking a conscious, objective, and aware view of yourself, processing what you find in the same light, in the same manner, and then being willing to do the work that's necessary to better oneself, right? To raise thy vibrational frequency resonance, right? So that's it is important, again, like I said, to be inclusive. So we're going to go with that, and understanding in this matrix, it is just that, getting out of these systems. Once we realize what they are and what they look like, some obvious, we can say, we can obviously state out like the major institutions, like we can say, religion, education, health. So we can limit or, take the quick glance and say, well, those are, what the institutions are and the areas of our life that we are most affected by this. But if we take a closer look, we see that each of those larger areas sort of extends into our life in an almost tentacle-like manner, right? Each of them has its own arm, or sort of, I guess I'm stuck with tentacle because it really behaves that way, in that it gets a hold of whatever aspect of our lives it's introduced into, and really grabs a stranglehold, right? constricts. You could also think of a constrictor snake, right? Um, but yeah, largely what we're talking about are the many aspects of how the many dimensions to this interaction of the quote unquote matrix in our lives. And freeing ourselves from that, from these systems, right? Once we recognize them, again, it's not an easy task, but it's doable once we do it in our mind, right? Folks, with everything, just like as we talked about us having intentions on manifesting anything, is all reliant on our focus, our concentration, the way we direct our energies, our thoughts and emotions, right? Our intention. The same thing holds true with this process. It is very much dependent on how we approach the process with honesty. And what I mean by that is it's not an easy process, even the part of recognizing these systems. Why is it so tough? It's tough because we have to be willing to look at every area of our life objectively, completely objectively, which in itself is very difficult to do because it's our life, right? That the very definition of it is subjective. But whether it be through utilization of, peace, love, respect, whether it be through utilization of a sort of third person viewpoint or some other way in which you can separate yourself for a moment from your own life, right? Just for the purposes of objectively viewing your life, right? And being able to process honestly what you find. Now, you know how I am in these videos, folks. I get takes me a while to warm up a bit, but that sort of gives you an idea of what you're looking at when it comes down to just identifying these different systems in our lives. Now, I'll talk just a bit about what happened with me. So, essentially, you know, I wasn't doing bad in my where I was at the time and what I perceived not doing bad to be. I had a bright career path with one of, if not the largest union conglomerates, right, in their community affiliate. And yeah, you know, I had met and conversed with and interacted with the CEO on several occasions and had good indication, let's just say, that my career path was very bright, right? If that's what I chose for myself. And at the time, you know, I was all into that because, you know, I'm thinking, hey, it's a union, standing up for the little guy versus the corporate entity, right? You know, this has got to be my fight. But, you know, there were aspects of that that didn't sit well with me. So I left, right? And it was not an easy thing to do because, like I said, I already wasn't doing too bad. You know, had a couple of promotions, right? So I was in a pretty solid position and in line for more advancement. So the easier choice for me and my future, right, it being quote unquote secure, which is what we're always taught, find a secure future for yourself. Well, that's ego. Ego always seeks security because it's a form of control. You want to control the outcomes rather than relying on the strength and sovereignty of your choices to influence the outcome, right? Okay. Not falling back on some fail safe, a quote unquote insurance, right? But letting the strength and sovereignty of your choices impact and determine your outcomes, right? So, at any rate, I left there, had another, fairly bright career path in a completely different industry. Well, I'll say it had strong ties and had a lot to do with the pharmaceutical industry, which you of course now know that I am very much not for. And science is moving in great strides to back up my sentiment that the future of medicine is far more in the line of physics, right, and quantum physics than it is in chemistry, like it has previously and currently is with the ridiculous drug intake that this country and much of the world is currently engaged in, right? But I had to leave that, obviously. Now, doing so, realistically, every day I'm still moving around and interacting in and living in and having expenses in the quote unquote matrix, because part of the matrix is that there is an expense and a price in their form of currency, right? To even the most basic level, not paying attention where I was going, the most basic level of survival, right? Food, clothing, shelter, all come with a price tag in dollars and cents, right? In this country, in whatever form of currency, in any other. Now, unfortunately, like I said, I still had the reality, the physical reality, should I say, of moving around, dealing and living in this paradigm, right? Even though it be crumbling rapidly, has not completely and 100% fallen away. So how do I survive on a daily basis? And even though, to be honest with you folks, I'm a very versatile individual, right? For me, I went back and forth. I did a little temp work. I did put sort of a feeler into a couple of positions to see whether or not or how deep their level of nefarious activity was, right? As to whether or not I could stay there, right? And I really couldn't. I just couldn't. Because one of the things that happens, and this is what's difficult, with this awareness, with this awakening, your understanding and your ability to recognize the negative, low vibrational frequency energies, you dig the activities, you just see the intent automatically. It does not take long at all. You know, last job I was in, I don't think I made it through 15 minutes of training, right? Before recognizing that this was potentially going to be something that harbored and dealt with a lot of low vibrational frequency activities, right? And sure enough, the more I got into the job, I mean, I literally could not stay. I just couldn't do it. I even got to a point where I was like, though you a bore and hate this every day, you know, as light workers, we raise the vibrational frequency of others that we are around, right? Both with the light that we bring in the form of information, our true unconditional love, probably most importantly, and just our demeanor and energy in approaching each day, right? That positively affects an environment and the people in it. So I had that to consider, right, for not being selfish and thinking about the benefit of others and who I might potentially be able to help in some way, right? Because it's not about me. I'm good. But it literally got to the point that even with that consideration, I can't lie to you, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It's too blatant, too, like I say, negative, too much of a low vibe, right? And I couldn't do it. And that's the sort of thing that will vary with all of us. You know, some of us may find in our jobs that, yeah, there's a few things that don't rub us right, but for the most part, we can hang in there and keep some money coming in so that we can transition more comfortably. That's great, right? You know, that you have that. So far be it for me to say, hey, everybody, you gotta run and quit every job you know got, or any sort of income you have. It's all negative and evil. You got to get rid of it. Listen, I understand people have to provide for themselves to live, right, and take care of their families and everything, right? So that's why I'm making this video, because it's not easy. It's really not, and I understand that, having gone through it, right, and still going through it. But let's start talking about solutions. What can we do? We can start talking to each other about this more, for one, right? Is probably a great idea, so that when we bump into each other, you know, at the bus stops or at our jobs or in cafes or wherever, just passing, if we happen to be able to, you know, not be all mashed up and have an actual conversation, even just for a few minutes, let's share with each other, right? You know, maybe something that we might know of, or a way to bring in some income, some resources to keep yourself sustained while you're transitioning. Share that information with one another. We never know how we might be able to help each other in that way, right? I said resources. There are some of us who have greater resources than others. Far be it for me to say, hey, it's your burden to take care of it. It's not. You know, I've received a lot of help from family members. Some of them are all right with it. Some of them, I can tell you quite frankly, are like, look, I need to get a job. I feel you. Listen, so I pack light, you know, and I'm always ready to be on the go, because more so than me feeling like they don't want me around, no, I understand, and I don't want to be a burden to anyone. It's hard enough to survive when you got your regular income. So most of us need 2 incomes or 3 sometimes or more, you know, so That's the way this system is designed. I would never be, naive or dismissive of the real financial cost of existence in this matrix, right? Um, I'm just a flexible enough and durable enough individual, having been through a lot in my life, that I could survive in just about any circumstance. So have I gone out and just left and lived out in the street at times? Yes. I do what I gotta do. Nothing will break me, you know. It doesn't even bring despair to me to have to sleep on the side of a abandoned building, right? As long as I can wake up the next day and do something good in the world. And maybe that is not a perspective that, or an ability that everyone has, and I understand that. That's fine. I wouldn't ask everybody to do that. It's just where I'm at, where I don't need material anymore. I don't have the same material needs. Those, to me, they've become trappings of a paradigm that I've already let go of, right? So I honestly just don't have any material lust, as I hate to use that word, or material. I don't have that thirst for material things. Um, Honestly, I look at it as a huge blessing for me. But even still, I talked about understanding the realities of survival in this matrix. So I'll go back to saying, those of us who have, you know, uh, extreme resources, or who have abundance, because abundance is literally having enough for yourself and then having more that you are able to share with others, right? So if you have that and you feel that you want to help in that way, then do that. I know once I attain, and even oddly enough, as broke as I am, I won't get too much into the stories, because I'm not looking for recognition or applause or any sort of credit. But I'll tell you that I've given to others, right, in ways that people might look at and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? You don't have nothing to be giving somebody that, or that much money, or that this and that, or whatever. I know what I'm doing. And it's gotten me spiritually in good favor, right? So I'll leave that at that. And again, I won't prescribe that to anyone. What I'm saying is, do what resonates good with you, but do what you can, right? We're in this together, and the more unified we are, even though society's measures in place right now are all directed towards separation, if you really look at it, right? Even though that's in place, we still can go that little extra effort, that little bit, take that extra little step to reach out to the person next to you and feel connected to them. And then it'll come naturally for us to help each other, right? And that's what we've got to do through this. So share the information about, jobs or ways of bringing in some income that are high vibrational, right? That people can feel good about, not being a part of any negative, linear, low vibrational frequency system. Share that information readily. Share resources when and whenever you can, and share support with one another, right? And the general feeling and understanding we are in this together. It's a tough transition moving out of the matrix right now. Now, here's another beautiful thing. The world, and is changing in a multitude of ways, and one of which is economy, right? For those of you who are creative and who feel sort of an urge to express yourself creatively, I'll say the venues now for you to be able to do that independently are greater than they ever have been, which is something I'm obviously attempting to utilize. For those that don't know, um, you know, aside from this building this channel over the course of the past 3 or 4 years here, um, I have, well, actually hasn't been that long for the channel building. Conceptually, it has, but anyway, um, I've written a book, obviously, that I think I talk about enough. Maybe I should talk about more. Please, all of you, check out my book. I would love if you do. It's available now on Amazon. The title is Peace, Love, Respect. This is the New Way by King Sadiq, right? In the About section on the mobile version of this channel, there's a link that goes directly to my book on Amazon, and on the desktop version, there's a link right in the corner of the homepage video. Right, as soon as you log on to the channel. So there's a couple links there, and also if you're just going onto the homepage at Amazon, just go in the search window, and if you just put in King Sadiq, and of course you have to spell it right, Sadiq, like sad IQ. But yeah, it'll get you right to my book. So I've written my and have now published and available my first book. I have also written and completed a second book that I've not yet released. I have written and recorded an album that I'll soon be releasing, and I have written and am soon to begin recording of a second album. And I'm also working on a movie story and script, right? So, creatively, there are a lot of things that we can do. That doesn't have to be, not everybody's an author or some form of a storyteller or an artist, like a performing artist. You may have some craft that you may be surprised would sell, right? You may have some other knack or talent. It may even be related to your career. Maybe there's a way that you can take your talent away from your job and do what you do now independently. We have to look at every potential way that we can free ourselves up from these low vibratory linear systems. And I mentioned repetitively that they're linear because they are not cyclical in nature. They do not replenish or give back from whence they've taken, right? So that creates a finite system that is always doomed to fail. So these finite linear systems that the socioeconomic elites have us struggling in constantly are designed to do just that, to keep us that way, struggling and distracted from the matrix. So let's get out of the matrix, right? Since we all want to do that. Hey, how you doing? And have a good one. And let's continue our transition together. Let's share solutions together, right? Let's make sure that we're supporting each other, and we can all become the change that we want to see in the world. And in doing so, together, we will all be manifesting in our new paradigm and transitioning out of this old paradigm, or transitioning out of the matrix. All right? Thank you. I know I got winded on that. I still feel like there's a couple of things I didn't necessarily cover on this topic, so we may have to do a revision or another, a part 2 of this or something. We'll see. But yeah, thank you very much. Know what it is. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq Holland at ya. I'm out. Peace, love, respect.